All right. We are live, or I am live. Kyle is still on vacation. Just an epic 49ers 26-23 win over the Rams. I'll be honest. I woke up Thursday not feeling great about the Niners' chances. And no Ricky Pearsall, no Jawan Jennings, no Brock Purdy, obviously. Still no George Kittle, still no Brandon Ayuk. This had the makings of like a blowout for the Rams. It really did. And I'm embarrassed to say it, but I think it needs to be said because this is how I was feeling about the game. I texted the group chat with Kyle and our buddy Nick Wagner and said, "Do you rest CMC tonight? Do you just take the L and keep Christian McCaffrey fresh? Because there's no way you're going to LA to beat the Rams the way they've been playing this season without all of your guys, really all of your guys on offense and Nick Bosa on defense." And the 49ers come away with a 26-23 victory, which, given the context of this game and given that the 49ers played so poorly Sunday against Jacksonville in a game that they lost at home, they turned it over 4 times, they basically gave it away. All the injuries they had going into this game. This is one of the most impressive regular season wins for the 49ers, I think, in the Kyle Shanahan era. And that's going to sound hyperbolic because they've had a lot of big regular season wins. But just given the context, given how banged up they were, given it was a short week, given Mac Jones looks like he can barely walk and he's keeling over after every drive. Like, if the Rams had kicked a field goal at the end of overtime and tied it at 26, could Mac Jones have even played football? Like, would Adrian Martinez have been quarterbacking the 49ers to try to go win that game and avoid a tie? So I'm super impressed. That is a super impressive win. A ton of heroes tonight for the 49ers. Eddie Pinheiro, just going to start there because we spent so much time talking about the kicker situation with the 49ers over the last couple of years. They don't win that game if Jake Moody's their kicker. He does not make both those kicks that Eddie Pinheiro made in overtime. The one kissing off the left upright, giving probably every 49er fan a heart attack. And then a 59-yarder that, when they showed the angle from below the uprights, that kick looked like it would have been good from 65. Pinheiro is not somebody who you consider having an elite leg, and I know they're playing with the kickers' balls this year, and they have bigger sweet spots and whatnot. But super impressive kicks. You feel like Moody does not make either of those, so that's Pinheiro, obvious hero. Mac Jones, an obvious hero. Marquise Siegel, I think, has been pretty good. The rookie 5th-round pick out of Kansas State, the free safety. The numbers would say, man, teams are really picking on him. He's allowing a lot of receptions, and there was some of that tonight for sure. But it's not because he's like blowing coverage or his coverage is ever particularly bad. It feels like he's always like a split second late, which I'm not super worried about, honestly, like long term. Like, I think Marquise Siegel is going to be fine. But the reason why I bring him up is because of the play he made on 4th down to win the game for the 49ers, to get that 4th down stop. The way he flew in and the amount of force he had on that tackle of Kyren Williams short of the line to gain was really impressive for a 200-pound safety who runs like a 4.3. For him to play with that much force in that moment, I think is really impressive. Alfred Collins, defensive tackle, 2nd-round pick, somebody that, man, I kind of thought this would be somebody who's kind of redshirting this season, like on the Aaron Banks, like, yeah, you drafted him highly, but probably not going to play a lot his rookie year, needs to work on his pad level, maybe isn't going to play. He's improved a lot. And to make that play also on Kyren Williams, forcing the fumble, recovering the fumble, and keeping the Rams out of the end zone with a minute left in regulation was a huge, huge play. And just super impressive stuff. Like, that is not what you expected out of Alfred Collins at all this season, let alone going into this game where you think, man, Niners being completely unable to pressure the quarterback without Nick Bosa. Matt Stafford's going to have a field day. Puka Nakua's had a billion receptions the first few weeks of the season. They still have Devontae Adams. 49ers didn't pressure the quarterback all that much, but the defense did what they needed to do. And Alfred Collins getting that forced fumble. Michael Williams also blowing up that play on fourth down. I know I'm kind of all over the place and scatterbrained, but this is what happens when you record a solo podcast half an hour after the game ends. So I think the biggest point here is that the 49ers are 4-1. They've played 5 games. 3 of them they've played with their backup quarterback, which is absolutely a credit to Mac Jones. And we're seeing it, man. And this is a credit to Mac Jones. I know, people are going to, if the 49ers had lost this game, there would be a lot of discussion about Kyle Shanahan and the play calling when the Niners were backed up after Alfred Collins forced and recovered that fumble. But man, I thought Kyle Shanahan coached his ass off. The Rams defense is really good. The Rams defensive front is really good and is a lot better than the 49ers offensive line. And the way Kyle Shanahan was was dialing up plays to get the ball out of Mac Jones' hands quickly, the way he was figuring out ways to get Christian McCaffrey the ball in the passing game in particular was just really smart. Kendrick Bourne showing up. Well, I haven't even talked about him. 10 catches on 11 targets for 142 yards. After all the drops Sunday in the loss to Jacksonville, Kendrick Bourne was absolutely massive. But offensively, I mean, this was about Mac Jones. 33 of 49 for 342 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and playing just super banged up. 49ers were 7 of 18 on third down. They were 3 of 3 on fourth down. The fact that I know 7 of 18 isn't the best percentage, it's 39%, but the fact that they converted that many third downs without their top 3 receivers, their backup quarterback, and their all-pro tight end is pretty damn impressive. It's crazy. That was a win, and I don't think it's too hyperbolic to say. I've already said I think it's one of the most impressive regular season wins of Kyle Shanahan's tenure. But that is the type of win that could really change a season. Because irrespective of how the 49ers played Sunday against Jacksonville, if you would have said, all right, the 49ers are going to be 4-1 after 5 games, take it to the bank, you would be thrilled with that, given all the injuries the 49ers have dealt with. If you were to say Mac Jones has played 3 games, 3 of the first 5, you're missing all your receivers, you're missing your tight end, Nick Bosa is done for the year, and you're 5-1, you're feeling great about that. Which is kind of hilarious given the way we were talking about the 49ers after the Sunday game against Jacksonville. And it was absolutely deserved. That was an atrocious loss. Brock Purdy looked really bad. Right? Like Brock Purdy, the offense, there's still problems for sure. And I think the nerds might come out of this and say, yeah, the 49ers are having a lot of one-score game luck, which is it's a thing. It's not sustainable to win one-score games. Sorry, Kyle Shanahan's talking in his press conference. Let me turn off Kyle Shanahan. I'll return to him. Lost my train of thought. The one-score game thing might come back to hurt the 49ers. But honestly, right now, with all the injuries, you will take that. I think those sort of luck factors balance each other out. So you will take the one-score game luck and counter it with, well, look at all these injuries. Like, this is obviously good. And winning games is always good. But, man, I think Mac Jones is on his way towards getting a contract from another team after his time with the 49ers. Hell, if Mac Jones plays more this season and the 49ers win more games, I don't think there's going to be a quarterback controversy. I think this is still Brock Purdy's job. I think Mac Jones would basically have to go to the Super Bowl and help the 49ers win playoff games on the road for Brock Purdy to ever lose his job. But I mean, if Mac Jones plays his ass off and you can get a second-round pick for Mac Jones in a trade in the spring, do you do that? I think you do that. maybe we should back it up, and maybe we should talk about the idea of a quarterback controversy with Mac Jones and Brock Purdy. Here's the thing. I think when you make the decision to pay a quarterback what the 49ers paid Brock Purdy the offseason, that gives him leeway. That gives him a grace period to say, all right, you can miss a little bit of time. Like, we've committed this much money to you. A rough first half of the season. Say Brock Purdy's not even back against Tampa Bay in 10 days. Say Mac Jones plays well. Who knows if Mac Jones is even going to be healthy enough? But we're just talking in hypotheticals. When you pay your franchise quarterback, he gets some leeway to be injured, to maybe not play super well before he loses his job. I think it would take a season worth of stuff, including Mac Jones winning in the playoffs, for Brock Purdy to lose his job. I don't really envision a scenario where the 49ers say, hey, we're just going to roll with the hot hand and we're going to roll with Mac Jones. If Brock Purdy comes back from the injury and then it's 3 straight games like what we saw against Jacksonville, okay, I would be open to having the conversation. But I think we're still pretty far from that point. I don't envision this being a quarterback controversy if both guys are healthy. So yeah. Jane FG in the chat. Kyle Shanahan said Brock Purdy's week to week. I think that's what the reporting said this week. We'll see. We have 10 games before Brock Purdy has to get ready for Tampa Bay next week. So we'll see. We'll see what that looks like. But I don't see this as a quarterback controversy right now. That being said, I think Mac Jones is playing his ass off. I think what we saw from him leading into the draft is kind of showing up. Not the most mobile guy, certainly not the most athletic guy, not the most built guy. And I think that kind of plays a role in all of these injuries, right? Like, one of the reasons why Jalen Hurts, for example, is so effective and almost impervious to injury is because he's built like a tank. He's built like a running back. The dude can squat 700 pounds or whatever it is. He is a elite top tier athlete. Justin Fields, same thing. But I don't think Mac Jones is that same level of athlete. I don't think he has the body to be a durable football player. And one of the things I heard from a talent evaluator who I really trust in the NFL leading into that 2021 draft when the 49ers were thinking about Mac Jones versus Trey Lance, I was part of the discussion because Mac Jones to me was described as sloppy from like a body perspective. Probably didn't have the best diet. Obviously not the most ripped guy, whatever. And I'm not saying that's the reason he's banged up, but it's certainly not helping him avoid being banged up. But that said, with how banged up he is, he's playing his ass off. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for coming in as a backup quarterback who's been dealing with an injury to come in and help his team go 3-0 in his 3 starts. Full stop. That's just really impressive. And I had a lot of priors about Mac Jones. I would have, I killed Kyle Shanahan leading up to the draft for thinking that Mac Jones was worth investing 3 first-round picks. And over time, I felt stronger and stronger about that take. And I still feel that way because the 49ers got Mac Jones for a song, 2 years, $7 million deal as a backup quarterback. Proved to be right. But he's doing a lot of the things that Kyle Shanahan liked about him coming out of the draft. He's a super quick processor. He can be sort of an avatar for what Kyle Shanahan wants to do in terms of play calling and reading defenses and going to the right place. Will he throw an interceptable pass now and again? Absolutely. No interceptions today. Took only 1 sack, which is kind of wild against that Rams defense, against behind that 49ers offensive line. That's really impressive. And that reminds me about, when the 49ers in 2019 were going up against Aaron Donald and the Rams had really good defenses back then. And I remember there was a game, I think it was 2019. It was a game that the 49ers won at the LA Coliseum. I was covering the team then. And the Rams were good. The Rams defense was good. I think the Niners were missing both Joe Staley and Mike McGlinchey at the time. They were both out to injury. And we were, the common thinking was just like the 49ers are not going to do anything against that defense without both of their tackles. And Kyle Shanahan just kind of did what he did in this game. It was like screen here, get the ball out quickly, move the pocket, move the launch point, play action, like doing a lot to negate pressure. And I think that's one of the underrated things about Kyle Shanahan is when he knows he has a serious disadvantage along the offensive line against a good defensive front, he can scheme around that. The problem is it feels like that stuff works in the first half a hell of a lot more than it does in the second half, because when you see that stuff in the second half, it feels like coaches adjust. And it feels like you can blitz more. It feels like blitzes can take the running backs out of passing plays, which is, I think, forced Kyle Shanahan to line Christian McCaffrey up out wide a little bit more, which is super effective. And so I think this was one of Kyle Shanahan's best coaching performances. There was some talk in the group chat about Kyle Shanahan's play calls when the 49ers were backed up late in the game. You have to sneak it on first down. You're at the 1 yard line, maybe the half yard line. You have to sneak it. You just have to give yourself a little bit of breathing room. That's fine. Sneak it again on second down. Okay. Right. I get it. Rams have all 3 timeouts, which is probably the most important context I could offer here. You run it on third down, get nothing, and then you punt out of the end zone. You force the Rams to use all 3 of their timeouts. And the text thread is like, man, Kyle Shanahan's coaching scared. He's coaching not to lose. And I get that, because Mac Jones was good in this game. And, if you complete a pass and you get a first down, then that really kills the Rams' chances of kicking a game-tying field goal, or maybe even potentially getting they don't get the ball back. The Rams don't get the ball back if you get a first down, because you can run out the clock, because they're all out of timeouts. Here's the thing. Rams have the best pass rush in the NFL, at least from a sacks perspective, through the first 4 weeks of the season. You're playing with your backup quarterback who cannot move and avoid pressure. You're playing without your top 3 receivers and without your all-pro tight end. So while I understand, like, hey, man, go for the kill, if you have an incompletion there, or worse, a sack, then the Rams have a timeout in their pocket, and they're just much more likely to get a touchdown. I shouldn't say more likely. It's substantially easier for them to get a touchdown and win the game in that moment if they have a timeout in their back pocket, because you remember they had 12 seconds left. They had to go to the end zone and try a low percentage pass before kicking the field goal. Had they had the timeout, they could have gone anywhere on the field. Right? So I understand why people would criticize Kyle Shanahan's play calling there. I would have that I think is probably the toughest call that you have in coaching, when you're playing with the lead and you're trying to kill the clock and force the other team to use timeouts. I think the easiest thing in the world is to say, hey, complete a pass and get a first down. But backed up at your own 1 yard line, you have your backup quarterback, you're missing your top 3 receivers, and your all pro tight end, and you don't love the matchup of your offensive line against that defensive front. I get it. Yeah, maybe there's a high percentage throw. I just don't, like a good third down conversion team converts half of their third downs, right? So at best, is it a 50-50 proposition? Okay. At best, it's a 50-50 proposition. I mean, I get it. I get it. The Niners allowing a field goal there is a game tying field goal there is a hell of a lot better than the Rams scoring a go ahead touchdown. So, we can nitpick it, but the Niners won the game, and it didn't completely kill them. Could it have gone better? Sure. But the Niners won the game. And, there's coaching scared, but there's also an element of being realistic in that, like, all right, we need to manage what we have. And what we have is a bunch of backup receivers and our backup quarterback who can barely move. So I get what Kyle Shanahan was thinking there. I thought Sean McVay running on 4th down right up the middle was a much worse play call than anything Kyle Shanahan did. You have so much at your disposal when you're Sean McVay and you have those receivers and you have that system. And like, I have no problem with them going for it. Like, go for the win. I'm watching the replay right now. You're at the 11 or 12 yard line. You could win the game with a touchdown there. You could do play action. You can do a play action bootleg. You can do so many things. My least favorite thing that coaches do, actually my second least favorite thing. My first least favorite thing is 4th and short running out of shotgun. I just think that sucks. I think running out of shotgun is super easy to defend in short yardage situations. The running back can only go so many ways because he's lined up on one side. He has to get the handoff from one side. I think that sucks. That's my least favorite thing. My second least favorite thing, running the ball right at the middle on 4th and short. Sean McVay has so many good play calls and insanely good pass catchers in Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. To just ram it up the middle on 4th and short with the game on the line, I think he got what he deserved. I think if you're a 49ers fan, man, you're fucking thrilled that Sean McVay decided to run the ball on 4th and 1 instead of do something crazy and put some of the, the young defenders that they have in conflict. So I don't like taking the ball out of Matt Stafford's hands there at all. But this is a 49ers podcast, so great for the 49ers. A lot of penalties. Diamador Lenore, too many penalties. Got to clean that up. The offensive line is problematic. And they were actually pretty good in pass protection, but the Niners averaged 2.2 yards per carry. Kyle Shanahan's San Francisco 49ers with Christian McCaffrey averaged 2.2 yards per carry. The longest run the 49ers had was 8 yards. It's just not good enough. And I get it. You don't have your receivers. Defenses are selling out against the run. You don't have George Kittle, arguably the best run blocking tight end of his generation. I get it, but it's unacceptable. It just is. If you're Kyle Shanahan, you love the win, obviously. You'll take being 4-1, but you have to be better in the running game. The 49ers have to figure out how to be better in the running game because winning this way is not sustainable. Hell of a win. Not trying to take anything away from the win. But long term, if you're trying to win your division and continue to play winning football and win, dare I say, in January, you have to be able to run the ball better. So I don't know what the solution is. Maybe it's just a perfect storm. Maybe it's the fact that you can't spread defenses thin with your receiving core because nobody can separate. Maybe it's the fact that George Kittle isn't there blocking. Maybe it's the fact that Christian McCaffrey's a year older, Kyle Juszczyk's a year older, Trent Williams is a year older. That stuff all seems super valid to me, but you have to figure it out. And the Niners go as far as they can run the ball. That's just what it is. Like, I feel like they just have to improve that. I don't know what it's going to take, if it's more than just getting guys back healthy on offense to, threaten defenses different ways. I think that's some of it. Nate in the chat, Trent Williams should not be this bad. Here's the thing. This is what happens when you're 38 years old and you're playing professional football. It's really hard to be, Thanos, the offensive lineman, for as long as Trent Williams has been, particularly playing on a short week against a really, really good defensive front. So, yeah, like Trent Williams, there are moments, and, I'm sure PFF will have their grades, and I don't think Trent Williams is a bad player by any means. He's just not the the dominant force that he's been in the past. But let's be positive. Kendrick Bourne, I need to get out of here on this because I'm rambling. Kendrick Bourne, 142 yards, super important performance for him. Christian McCaffrey, as much as the running game didn't get going, 82 yards receiving on 8 catches, 22 runs, 57 yards, had that receiving touchdown. 30 touches for Christian McCaffrey. Do you feel good about Christian McCaffrey getting 30 touches every week? You do from like a production standpoint, and my fantasy team is not bummed at all when Christian McCaffrey gets that many touches. But when you talk about winning games in January, maybe you could get Christian McCaffrey down to like the 15 and 20 range, because maybe you can throw to Ricky Pearsall, throw to Brandon Ayuk, throw to George Kittle, get your guys back healthy. But it feels like they need every single one of Christian McCaffrey's touches. Mac Jones, reiterate, 33 of 49, 342 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Just super impressive stuff from a backup quarterback. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if Mac Jones ends up getting a starting job at some point after his 49ers career, whether that's, this offseason, if the 49ers flip him for a second or third round pick or whatever. That would be interesting. Again, I don't think Mac Jones is going to unseat Brock Purdy as a Niners long-term starting quarterback, barring injury. We'll see. But just a super tough performance from Mac Jones. I think he deserves a ton of credit. Being a backup quarterback and winning games like this is super impressive. Again, Marquise Siegel just flying in and making that hit on fourth down. The 49ers, I guess I can go out on this. When they made the decision to move on from a bunch of veterans and bring in some young players, what you are bringing in is a different level of hunger and a different level of, hey, I've never done anything in the league. I need to prove myself. And that's what you're seeing from Marquise Siegel. That's what you're seeing from Alfred Collins. That's what you're seeing from D. Winters. Ricky Pearsall when he's healthy. Like, when you inject youth into an NFL team, particularly talented youth, with a good coaching staff. A good coaching staff is really the most important thing in terms of developing players and having a good young football team. And the 49ers have a very good coaching staff. Robert Saleh, I think, has been an elite defensive coordinator this year. When you inject that youth, you can completely change the feeling of your team. And sure, the 49ers aren't the world beaters that they seemed like they were in 2023. But to get to that point, you kind of have to start somewhere and build up. And it feels like the 49ers are in a really good place in terms of where they're building from. Right? Like Alfred Collins making that play at the goal line is a huge play for him and his confidence. And, he's like, hey, I can make game-changing plays now. Like, I can do that. I have done it. I helped our team win a division game on a short week. The 49ers are 3-0 in the division. With all of the turnover, right? Renardo Green, another one. I thought Renardo Green had a decent game. They have so many young players who just seem to be playing at a pretty high level that you need to be, I think, really optimistic about what the future could hold. Are the 49ers the class of the NFC right now in the same way that they were 2 years ago? No, I don't think so. Can the 49ers win the division? If they stay healthy and avoid any more season-ending injuries to their star players, I think they could. If you get all your guys back, you get Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, George Kittle, Ricky Pearsall, you get all these guys back offensively. You look at the 49ers schedule and you say, yeah, they could win this division. They could absolutely win this division. They're already 3-0 in the division. So just a huge win for them. It might be one of those wins to where if the 49ers do make the playoffs, they do win the division, and if they do win a playoff game or two, it'll be one of those things where you can look back to October 2nd and say, that Rams game, when everyone was picking them to lose, and they're missing their top 3 receivers and their tight end and Nick Bosa and Brock Purdy, their starting quarterback, who they just paid $53 million a year, missing all of those players to go beat a team that a lot of people think is the second, third, fourth best team in the NFC, beat them on the road on a short week. If the Niners have a successful postseason run, I think you look back at October 2nd and say that was a huge one, and that's where there was a certain amount of belief that was instilled in the team, and you saw these young guys do something that they didn't necessarily know they were capable of doing before they did it. And I know it's cliche, and I know it's hokey and whatever, but it's what we like about sports. That's why sports are fun, because you can see it in real time. These all these pieces coming together in the draft, and us talking about like, is this going to work and whatever. You see 3rd round picks, 5th round picks, all these guys like coming together to form like a winning product. It's fun. It's fun to watch. And so tonight was a big win for the 49ers. I think they have to be super pumped. They have a long weekend, I should say, before going to play Tampa, which is going to be a really tough game, but maybe you get Brock Purdy back, maybe you get George Kittle back. So we shall see. We'll talk to you guys more later on. I'm going to take a long weekend. Got some family time coming. I appreciate everybody for tapping in. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Appreciate you hanging out. If you guys could subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's not just me ranting all the time, I promise. Kyle Madsen will join me at some point when he gets back from his much needed vacation. So it won't be me just ranting at you. It'll be me having a conversation with Kyle. We are sponsored by Lamb Chops and Prize Picks and Cooperage Brewing. Make sure you go get your Candelstick Chronicles Hazy IPA at Cooperage Brewing. They have 2 locations in Santa Rosa. Go to their website, cooperagebrewing.com. Order it. They will ship it to your door anywhere within California. Obviously, you need to be 21 or older and within the state of California. We'll talk to you guys probably early next week. Hope everyone enjoys their weekend. Fall is here. Go out, do some fun stuff with your family. Enjoy the weather if it's nice, if we can avoid the rain. And I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.